brought my good friend Rich Walstad. I can have Rich tell you his story if he chooses to, but let me tell you, Rich has an amazing story. We might get into a little bit of that, but really what I want to do is talk about all kinds of stuff, crypto, world events, whatever we want to talk about, because this is what we do when we hang out.
Yeah.
And aren't the most interesting podcasts when you hear people's discussions, like their personal discussions. So I'm going to let Rich kind of talk about himself. Whatever he wants to tell you, he can. Whatever he doesn't have to. So, Rich,
Cool.
who are you?
Who am I? That's a good
Yeah.
question. I ask
Who are
myself
you?
that all the time. So my name is Richard Walstad. Like Rodney says, I do have a pretty interesting story. I spent 19 years in the Department of Corrections. That's the biggest part of my story. I've been out of prison for 2 years.
Yay.
Yeah, and a couple months. So
How much parole you got left?
I don't even know, 5 months.
5 months,
Yeah.
dude, after 20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on
So,
now. Come on now.
Absolutely,
Come on now.
man.
Come
So
on
it's
now.
a-
That's a success story
Yeah,
right there.
it's a huge accomplishment. I'm pretty happy, excited about it. So I've just been trying to build my life back from just being incarcerated for so long,
Yeah, man.
and have a history in drug addiction, alcoholism, all that stuff. So without going into too much details about it, I took a man's life back in 2004, and so that's what put me in the Department of Corrections for 19 years flat. Went in 2004, got out January of 23. I found my faith journey inside prison.
And what's
So-
the faith journey you're on?
So the faith journey, I'm a Christian, so I think it's important to talk about that. I don't really like to use the word Christian. I'm a believer in Christ. I think that word Christian gets thrown around
Absolutely.
quite a bit. A lot of
Absolutely.
people consider themselves Christian. I think that there's a statistic in the United States, 70% of Americans consider themselves Christian.
Oh, yeah. I know a bunch of them.
Yeah, that is
Yeah, I
not
know
the
a bunch
case.
of
That is not the case at all. So if someone was, born into a Christian family, they just kind of automatically default themselves to that.
Yep.
And for me, I wasn't born into a Christian family. I was born into a Jehovah's Witness family, which they call themselves the true Christians. We're probably going to offend some people in this.
It's all right. We
I don't
had a
care.
guy on here
Yeah.
that last time that was talking about Muslims.
Yeah,
We don't hate anybody. We love
Nope.
everybody,
we're going to speak the truth, though.
but we're going to speak the truth. Absolutely.
For sure, 100%. So Jehovah's Witness family, always believed in God. That was never like really a question of believing in God, but I didn't have a relationship with him.
Okay.
So I was pretty successful before I went away. I had a good job at Honeywell, and I got that job when I was 19.
Okay.
And there's Lulu right there.
That's Lulu. She won't
Yeah.
leave me alone, so she's going to join.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So 19, I got that job, made really good money. In 2003, I was making like close to $19 an hour in 2003.
Well, that's good money.
Yeah, it was good
You're
money.
just a young man.
I was a
right?
young man.
He was
Yeah,
a young
Actually,
man.
I still am a young man. But
Well, we all think we're young.
I like to think so.
We're
but
young. We're young in here, but maybe not out
Yeah,
here.
stuff starts breaking down. That's
Yeah,
a fact.
for sure.
So I made good money. I had a house. I had a brand new car. I had money in my pocket. I was able. Back then, you could pay all your bills. You could have money left
Yeah.
over, making that kind of money.
Not today, buddy.
Not today.
Not today.
Nope. $19 an hour doesn't
Yeah.
do nothing for you.
Yeah, you can make 100. I think the new get down, Lulu. The new what is it? $120,000 per household is what you need to make now
Yeah.
to be able to afford a home, have children. So that is only for certain people with certain levels of education, or you're a contractor and you become successful. But that's not always the case. So,
True. Yeah. So like, after getting out, I found out that that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
My mind was still in 2004 prices.
Oh
As
yeah,
far as
yeah.
everything is concerned, of course, you get out to a Biden economy, and he just about wrecked this country. So
Yeah.
thankfully, it's coming back. But the whole point of my backstory is I had all those things, was really empty inside, and just didn't know my purpose and was trying to find it.
Yeah.
And some personal things happened in my life, and I had a relationship that went completely south. I mean, like in the worst way that you can imagine. And I mean, she tried to.
I know something about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
do.
we can get into that if you.
No, I don't really want to.
All right.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
No, I don't really want to.
All right. Fair enough. But so this one went really, really bad, and she called the cops on me. She tried to say that I broke into her house. I mean, it was a whole thing. The cops showed up, and they're operating under the assumption she wasn't there, by the way, but it was an apartment I was sharing with her. So they were operating under the assumption that I was breaking and entering.
Oh, so they treated you like a criminal
I heard
in
the
your own place.
exact. I heard the
Yeah.
911 call, and she said, "My neighbor called me. Someone's trying to break into my apartment."
Dirty.
They and the 911 operator even asked her. She said, "Do you know who's in your house?" And she says, "No, I have no idea."
Oh, yeah.
So she's getting her information, and towards the end of the call, she said, "I won't say her last name." She said, "Are you sure you don't know who's in your home?" She's like, "No, I have no idea." She says, "I'm on my way home right now."
Oh.
So cops show up, you know, get into an altercation. I get jumped by like 7 Phoenix PD.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on a Friday night. So yeah, they jump me. You know, we end up getting in a scuffle. I get a broken nose out of it. I get charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault.
Yeah.
And so they say I hit one of the cops. I probably did.
Yeah, I mean, back then when we're on, substances.
I mean, he had a little cut right there.
Yeah, a little
just
right
a
there.
little tiny cut. It wasn't.
Yeah, I did that in front of the FBI building. That's a story for another time.
That's another show.
Yeah, it's another show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of went like on this downward spiral after that, because I had legal, battles.
Yeah, man.
Aggravated assault against police officer. They
Which they're gonna get you.
Oh, they are gonna
Yeah.
get. My lawyer even told me. He
Yeah.
said it doesn't matter. He said you don't have. There's no witnesses. It's you. It's your word against the cops, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what it was. I ended up signing a plea. Aggravated assault police officers. They ended up dropping it. Well, the idea was they're going to drop it down to misdemeanor after I went through all the classes,
rigmarole.
everything else. So, but I never made it that far. I ended up just getting real bad on meth.
Oh, yeah.
They used to call it G back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't call it that no more.
They don't call it that.
Yeah,
I don't know what they call it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Evil is what I call it.
Absolutely.
It's evil.
It's interesting, man. I remember back in the early 2000s, we talked about this before, when they would make those batches.
And they would pray over them.
They would have witches actually.
Santa Muerta.
Yeah, they would they would pray over that stuff.
Yeah. Do you guys know about that out there? I feel I should catch it up real quick. So the loads the cartel will bring across the border, they're probably still doing it. They have this god. It's like, isn't it like the Mother Mary? It's like
it's like the cartels use it. So they pray and they offer
blood sacrifice.
Yeah, human sacrifices, all that for success in business. And
and get the loads across the border. So it's a good chance whatever drugs you've done probably has that spirit attached to it. But we can get into that spirit thing later. But
well, it's kind of related because they have. There was a lot of instances of like shadow people.
People
that do that stuff. They see shadow people.
I saw them.
Yeah, I saw them too.
It's all good until one hands you a wrench. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you're working on a car, I'm gonna get that wrench from you, dog, since you're here, and you actually have the wrench in your hand. You did a minute ago. Yeah, that was weird. That's weird.
That's real stuff, man.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's actual real stuff, and that's kind of that's what happened to me. Is I got involved in the occult.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly, and I got involved in Satanism actually.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of, it sounds crazy to people who don't believe in that stuff. But just like
doesn't sound crazy to me. Unless you've been to the darkness, you don't know what the darkness
absolutely
is.
But I was operating in supernatural powers and abilities and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, like crazy stories. But it led to the point where I actually took someone's life. I had been up for 3 days. And the details of that are crazy. And I don't necessarily want to get stuck on that. But the whole point is I ended up in prison. I ended up in county jail.
Exactly where the enemy wanted to put you.
Destroy, It comes to still kill and destroy.
I have a theory about that, dude. I have a theory that if you have a great calling on your life, there are great attacks on your life from a real young age.
Absolutely.
Like, because God knows us, from beginning. Before we're even born, he knows us. So if he knows our destiny, and the enemy knows it too, he's going to try to destroy us through divorce, through molestation, through incest, all that crazy stuff that happens to kids. Yeah. Usually those people that have that, once they come to the Lord, they're like... You know what I mean? Yeah. They go up, man. It's just an awesome thing to watch. So
it really is, man. And so I thank the Lord, man. They say name your God, the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And he saved me. He rescued me from all that stuff. And, I got saved and I got forgiven, for all my sins. And it's important to understand that can be true. But as far as man's laws are concerned,
sorry about the dogs, but they're part of I love my dogs. They're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. So as far as being part of, my story, all that stuff's important. But, you do have to pay the piper when it comes to man's laws.
Yes, you do.
So, and I accepted that. They originally wanted to give me natural life. I ended up signing a plea. My plea was for 16 to 22 years. They put me right smack dab in the middle of that. So they gave me 19 years flat time, which means you don't get any good time credits.
Yeah, no 85, no TR.
None of
none of the stuff that none of us really get ever anyway. I got flat time too. So.
Yeah. So 19 years was 19 years, and that's what I ended up doing. But I ended up getting saved. I had an encounter with the Lord. And what it just came from is just a place of brokenness and just not being able to save myself, and just kind of just from a place of hopelessness. So that's how the Lord gets a hold of us most times.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person
Me
that
too.
has to learn things the hard way.
Me too.
Yeah, most of us
still
are.
learning things the hard way sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You bang your head against that wall.
Yeah. But what's cool though about that,
times.
Rich, is we can help other men now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Sure.
we're shepherds. Guys like Rich and I, we're shepherds, man. We're called to like lead these men to the Lord and then walk with them. That's what a shepherd does, is he walks with them.
Totally.
And I think that
And we're not perfect either.
We're not perfect, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I probably will swear. So all my Christian friends,
He's right.
please forgive me. But when we get to talking and I get worked up, I don't know how to express myself. So I'll talk to my therapist about it next week. So you can hit me in the comments, whatever, and rebuke me. I don't care.
Plenty of adjectives and
Yes.
colorful adjectives. So I ended up not only getting saved. The last several years of my incarceration, I was involved in ministry. That's something God put me into.
Yep.
I was teaching the word, I was preaching, I was leading the Bible studies.
Yeah, man.
This little yard in Globe, Arizona. 200.
It is little. I went back in after I got out. It's a cool place.
Yeah, it is cool. It's really
a cool place.
It's like a privilege yard. So
it is. It's like one of the lowest level custody, and it's in the middle of the mountains, and it's beautiful out there.
It's awesome. Yeah. Most of those guys have outside clearances, so they work in the town.
Yeah. So outside clearance, when you get that, means you have a point system in Arizona, because there's a lot of my friends that are interested in this, and they always ask me about prison. Mm-hmm. They have a point system. So when you're taken into Alhambra, that's the processing center. They assess you. You meet with people. They assess your personality type, and kind of like a psychiatrist, psychologist type of deal. They need to put you on a scale. What is it? It's like 0 to, is it?
It used to be 5.
Yeah, 5 to what though? What was the highest? 50 or 45 or something like that? Well, level 5.
Yeah, level 5.
So it'd be like 50. So when I came in, I was at 26. I had a detainer. Once the detainer dropped off, I was able to go to a 2-yard.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I came in at a 5.2. I was in max.
Yeah, he was max.
Security.
So quick question. I know that I won't speak his name, Dan Johnson, was wanting to know about Central Unit. So I promised him I would ask you.
Cool.
I don't want to really stay on this, but I know there's a lot of people that are interested in this.
Yeah.
So what was the walls like? I've been in there on maintenance, but never in the cells. Hold on. Well, it's still filming. Okay. It's all right. Go ahead. Cool.
So the walls, that's what they call it, Central Unit. It's the oldest prison complex in the system.
Keep talking. Guys, just keep talking. Rich.
So, what is it? Building 2 is the oldest prison building that's still, up until recently, was still being used. So what had happened was all those buildings were condemned. So Department of Corrections, how they do things is instead of tearing things down and building brand new, they just pay the fines.
Yeah, they paid all the fines for that place. It's decrepit.
It's bad.
It's decrepit.
There's pigeons, there's roaches, there's scorpions, there's any kind of bug and infestation that you could imagine. When I came in, that was the first yard I hit. It was 2005. So there's an old movie called Stir Crazy. It's with Richard Pryor and
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder, yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was one of those.
Just gave away our age, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, going way back.
I
remember being a kid and watching.
I watched that too. It was the rodeo.
And
wasn't the rodeo where they do the horses?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did the film. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So if you want to see what the walls look like, what Central Unit looks like, just Google that movie, Stir Crazy.
Yeah, it's from like early 1980s, maybe late 70s, right in that era.
Yeah, they filmed that movie.
I worked maintenance there, bro. I went in because I was in the low yard, the North Unit guys. I was on a level 2 before I went home.
Yeah.
And I was on maintenance for my first month there until I got a real job. And I would go on the walls, and as soon as a funny story, I walk in the walls, dude, and everybody's sitting on their butt on the grass. Yeah. So something happened, right? Something happened. So I figured that out. We all kind of walk, and all I heard is Maui, and then I heard a, "Hey Mo, is that you?"
Yeah.
Like all these guys I was in the 4 yard and the 3 yards with had gotten in trouble and moved up in custody. So it was funny.
Yeah.
And then I ran into Tyson.
Mhm.
He's an asshole, man. By the way, God, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an ass. But anyway, that was my sense, and it's decrepit underneath the bowels, bro. I was in there too.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. So bad living conditions when I got there. There was no air conditioning. And
Oh,
so there was no air conditioning. It would literally get in.
no swamp cooler.
Okay, so the swamp cooler, it didn't even it didn't cool anything down. In fact, every time they would turn the air on, it would literally blow dirt and gravel into your room.
Into your cell?
Yeah, into your cell. Air, and it was hot.
Well, man.
So that air would kick on, and it would.
Can we say something about paying the piper?
Yeah. No, that's prison.
Yeah, that's prison.
That's definitely prison. So hot, 100 degrees inside these.
Oh my God.
These huge fans. You know, the huge
that
they roll
on
in.
Stands, yeah.
Exactly. So they would bring those in, and all that would do is just blow air just around.
Oh my God.
You smell everybody's farts.
Oh yeah, smell their BO.
Oh, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad.
Man.
So it was that, and it was at that time it was slammed down. What that means is it was completely controlled movement. So you were locked in your cell.
Yep.
And they say for 24 hours a day, but they had it on a rotation. 3 times a week, you would actually come out of your cell to go to rec.
Yeah, to go to rec, and they probably give it like an hour. If that, if you're lucky, if they have the cops to watch you.
Yeah. So a lot of things would happen. Sometimes you wouldn't get wrecked because things would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was controlled movement and everything was locked down.
It was like that at Mojave.
People would still, you'd get out of your cuffs. And, you know, if you can make a little key out of, you know, they would take the batteries from the commissary from the store, and they would take the shell off of
Was it the 9-volt or the...
That was the AA batteries.
Okay.
They would take the AA batteries.
Key?
And they would make a handcuff key out of them. So
crazy.
Cops would come through and they cuff guys, and then so they, you know, they're doing a whole bunch of guys.
Yep.
So they come through and they cuff you.
Yep.
The dog farted. I smelled that.
Yeah,
right
I smell
now.
it too. Gingies. Sorry guys, we got dogs. They're really cute. Maybe this one time I'll have a podcast with Ginger. She's very interesting.
Yeah, she is. She's an interesting dog. A little smelly right now.
So they would, when they're all those guys. So what they do is they let you out of your cells. You're lined up. You're cuffed, and then they have to walk you out to the yard. So the guys are uncuffing themselves on the way out. Acting like they were cuffed so they could box.
Exactly. Yeah. So you just kind of hold them right there, and then you uncuff them, and then so they would have you come out.
Yeah, dude.
And so they have one guy come out, and then they would stagger it, and so you would have like maybe 30, 40 feet in between guys. Yep. But all you got to do is just run towards.
Yeah, because they're just gonna take them a minute.
And they're always understaffed.
Yep. So
they would have like, you know, maybe 1 or 2 cops doing the rec for the, you know, for a couple hundred guys.
Yeah.
So they walk you out. The guys are getting stabbed over there, like all kinds of stuff.
So, side note, what are they making the shanks with over there? I can tell you what they made them with the yards I was in, but what were they doing there? It's a max.
Yeah, so they would get, so what they did was, this is really interesting. They had like little towel racks.
Okay.
They had towel racks.
The metal ones.
Yeah, the metal ones. Yeah. And somehow these guys were breaking them off.
How?
Sharpening. There's a will. Well, there's a will. There's a way.
Over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Dental floss for 3 years. Might take it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So they were doing a bunch of different stuff. They had spears that they would do out of newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Take newspaper and they roll it up into.
Sharpen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it turns back into wood. That's what they're doing at when I was in Rincon.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the RC bottle ones? The soda bottle.
Or they melt them.
They melt them and then roll them into pieces.
Yeah.
And they're thick.
Yeah, that stuff it works.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They were doing a lot of that stuff. A guy gave me a lid from, you know, a can.
Yeah.
And so he's like, hold on to that for me. And it was a can, it was a lid like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it had a bunch of sharp
edges
all around it. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll find whatever they want. And here's the thing. So not all the prisons in Arizona are like this.
Right.
You know, it's only when you get like 3 and above, and some 3 yards are real chill, but some of them aren't. I've been on both.
Yeah.
Like Tucson, 3 yard was the Santa Rita. It wasn't chill. I was in a riot like 2 weeks after I got there, and they shipped me to Mojave, which was the best thing that God could have ever done because I met the Lord there and got saved there. But you know.
Yeah, that's where I got saved.
Mojave?
No, in Central.
Oh, in Central?
Yeah.
So what was that like? What happened there?
So I ended up...
Richard Moore?
No.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
But it's all bars over there. So most of those buildings, it's all bars. Yep. Just like in the movies, same thing. Like you've seen like American Me.
Yep.
Those buildings are like that. So when I came in, I was in building 4. There's
I know that building.
Yeah.
I
so
worked in there.
In the basement, on the back half was old Death Row. So there used to be just a huge wall that divided the front half from the back half. And it was a huge, like, I guess it was like an iron wall. It was crazy.
Really?
Yeah, they came through and they cut that whole thing out. So they made it all just regular
Right,
housing.
GP. Yeah.
So, and it was like pitch black in there all day. It was great if you want to take a nap.
Yeah.
So they had like 3 little windows, and it was like a little bit of light.
So you had to use your lamp, and if you didn't have a lamp or a TV, you're in the dark.
Oh, you're in the dark.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Imagine being a newbie.
Yeah.
With no money.
With
it takes time when you get to prison for the money that people send or the money you bring in to hit. Like 30 days is what I waited.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I was thankful I had a family that
Yeah.
Gave me, my dad put $1,000 on my books.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was able to get my TV, which is $200 for a little 13-inch.
That's what I had. Did you have an RCA?
I had a KTV.
Oh yeah, the Ks. Yeah, I had an RCA, bro.
Yeah, little bubble.
The last one, because it was 09 when I got it, was like the last year. Yeah, and they came out with the RCAs.
That TV lasted me for 10 years.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gave it to someone and I still had it.
Yep.
Like I'm sure they did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that TV was good. And the only reason I upgraded it because they had the flat screens.
Oh yeah, dude. And then they sucked.
They sucked.
Yeah, they sucked. I saw that. I waited. I was smart. I was like, well, let me see. They're $200 and some. Let me just see. And I seen it, and you can't see it from every angle like you can. No. And I was bummed out. I was like, I'm not going to get that. But just for all you that want to know, I know there's a lot of you want to know. When you come in, there's some key items, right? Yep. You got to get your fan.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything's clear plastic. Everything. The fan's kind of a white clear. Mm-hmm. You get a fan. You get a CD player. Now they have tablets, so those are gone. But when we were in, it was CD players. You got to have CL20s. They're the big headphones made by Koss. Shoes, yep. And you buy, if you can afford it, you can get the New Balance, and they last for a couple of years. But if you don't have the money, they had some couple different brands of cheap ones. But most guys spend their money on food, so they get the cheap ones when they come in. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. They get that big chunk.
Yeah.
And they're so hungry, dude.
Well, and you're coming from the county jail where they feed you slop.
And nothing.
Yeah. They feed you slop. They feed you 2 times a day. Dude. And sometimes the stuff was moldy. It was bad.
Rocks in it.
Yeah, with Joe Arpaio when he was running that county jail.
So for all you guys out of Arizona, you might have heard of Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He was the Maricopa County Sheriff, and most people that live in Arizona that go to prison come through that county jail. And just a real quick side note on this, that county used to put us in white and black stripes with pink boxers and pink socks. And so, it was really rough. I think the most violent things that I've seen in the whole 10 years I was gone was in that county jail.
County jail, yeah.
Yeah, it was like gladiator school. It was brutal. Yeah. And they when I was there, they gave me a sack and it had a grapefruit in it, a jar of peanut butter, like not a jar, but a cup, and then a big loaf of bread, and then something weird, like a snack sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes like little, like cheap, like sugar-free cookies.
Yeah, and they want you to make it last all day, and the meat was real weird. It had holes in it and stuff, and the cheese was all weird, dude, with the thing of mustard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was twice a day. And when
I was there, it was once.
Well, you get 2 meals. You get that sack, and then you get slop in the evening time, which was just like.
Do you remember? So there's these brown. Sorry about the dogs barking, but I'm not going to lock them out. They need to be near me. So I had these brown trays. They're about this thick and they're about this big, and they had 5 compartments in them. And they put whatever slop was in the middle. When I say slop, I mean like weirdness mixed together, and it had rocks in it a lot of times. So you eat and break your tooth.
Yep.
And they'd have potatoes with there's no salt, there's no coffee, none of that stuff. And the potatoes would have, sometimes they would have butter, other times they were just instant potatoes with no salt in them. They were horrible.
So you come from that, I was there for 11 months fighting my case.
I was there 10.
I wasn't really fighting my case. I was there for 11 months just trying to get the best deal.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was guilty.
Right.
So you come from there, and then you get to, prison, which is the food is not, it's a little better.
A little.
When I came in,
actually, it's a lot better.
It was decent.
Yeah.
It was decent.
It got worse.
It did get worse. When I came in, it wasn't too bad. So you come from not eating, and then you get to prison, and they have like all this stuff on the commissary that you can buy.
Yeah.
So you can kind of go crazy if
Yeah, you'll go crazy because you got all these different.
You haven't eaten, Yeah,
you have store like commissary at county. I mean, it had some of the items like the cheese and stuff we had in prison, but once you get to prison, you get like meats and real refried beef, coffee. So the first day that everybody gets there, they are begging for a cigarette, a chew, a coffee.
Yep.
Everybody, dude. You know what I used to do? I used to wait for the new guys to come in. So I wouldn't always do this, but I would sometimes put a whole bunch of coffee in there and make it super strong and watch them just tweak out. It was hilarious.
Oh man, I went through a bag of coffee. So when I landed, it used to be when you would hit prison.
Yep.
It used to be that guys would send you over a care package.
Yep.
So they call back and they're like, "Hey, where are you from?" Like, what do you need over there? We'll send you over something. So the first care package I got
Keefy?
it was no, it was Boston. I don't know. It was some kind
Some
of.
other brand.
It was good though.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
It
good.
wasn't the Keefy.
It was a bag like that. It was just a plastic
Damn,
bag.
dude.
Yeah, and it was Boston coffee or something like. It was really good. It was Colombian coffee. So they sent me over a bag of this coffee. They sent me over like soap, like some other
hygiene stuff. Because
Yeah.
they don't give that to you when you get there.
Some yeah, they don't give you anything.
They don't give you nothing.
They'll
Just
give
you're on your own, dude.
They give you flip flops.
Yep.
They give you shower shoes.
Yep. And they give you the like or not Converse, but like the band shoes.
Yeah.
Slip ons.
Mm-hmm.
And dudes would be playing basketball for weeks and they're falling apart on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's crazy. So yeah, so I get there and they send me this care package with all this stuff. It was cool. I drank that bag of coffee in 2 days.
Yeah.
I was lit, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
I drank so much coffee that first day. I was cleaning my house and I was tweaking.
Yeah.
But I hadn't had caffeine
That's crazy,
in over a year, so it was like I was just enjoying it. But so I was there for 2.5 years.
Wow.
I was there at Century Inn.
Let's do a pause real quick and we'll
Sure.
go back to it. Let me check that camera. You were there for 2 years?
Yeah, I was there for 2 years.
That's not bad though.
Yeah.
Considering with all that time.
Yeah, I was there for 2 years. Yeah.
How do they determine that there? Like how long you stay there?
So what happened was it was max, right? It was
Right.
maximum security. And so what ended up happening was they were doing some reshuffling.
Yeah.
So they ended up moving all of the guys that were super high. They ended up moving into SMU. And so anybody's, because they had, I think what had happened was there was a guy, he was a level 2, that he was over in SMU. And yeah, he fell through the cracks.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
imagine that.
Yeah, he was reclassed as a level
Oh.
2 in SMU. What ended up happening was they ended up killing that guy.
Yeah.
He got killed.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what ended up happening?
Lawsuit.
The family sued, rightfully
Yeah.
so. He wasn't supposed to be there.
Yep.
And I think he had come up in custody. He wasn't like a killer. He wasn't one of those
Yeah,
guys.
he's probably a wire thief.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
something kind of just like, whatever.
Yeah.
He ended up getting in some trouble. That's what would happen. You would have guys that started off minimum and a bunch of dummies.
Bunch of knuckleheads, bro.
Yeah.
They wind up on a 5-yard in SMU.
They end up in a maximum security.
Over tickets too.
Over a bunch of tickets. Majors, like maybe they have contraband or stuff like that. And so they ended up, and it's probably this guy's story. So he ends up getting killed.
Man.
So they did reform, and when they came through, and everybody that needed to be reclassed, they made sure they got reclassed.
Yeah.
And so they either went to a higher yard or they went to a lower yard. And so they came through and they said, "Hey, you're reclassed."
3?
4 yards.
Oh, 4.
Yeah.
What 4 did you go to?
Ended up going to Kaibab over in Winslow, Arizona.
Yeah.
So it's another like gladiator school.
Oh yeah, dude.
And people are getting smashed over there.
I heard about that place from my buddy Mo.
Yeah. So like prison terminology, smashed. It's different than what they're
Can
saying
kind of
out here right now.
yeah.
Yeah. Smash means a different thing out here. Smash in there means you get beat up really bad.
Yeah, by not just one person either. Usually it's a couple.
Yeah, you get jumped. You get jumped by a couple.
So, I mean, Rich probably knows more than I do, but when I went in, if you had a drug debt and you couldn't pay for it, you're getting smashed.
Oh yeah.
If you had a store bill and they give you some time, but if you don't pay it, you're getting smashed.
Yeah.
And it used to be like hands laid, debt paid. Like if you got beat down, it was all good. But it wasn't like that when I went back.
No, it's not like that anymore. So
Yeah.
they'll
They
will keep beating you.
Yeah.
And then eventually I remember they told this guy, he was actually kind of running things. He was involved in the politics.
Yeah.
And he was like one of the shot callers, but he had a habit. He had a heroin habit. And he got in
secret
debt.
heroin habits, usually with the heads.
He got in debt $2,300. And it didn't matter if he was like
head or if he was a torpedo.
Didn't matter. Like this dude owed money.
Yeah.
So they beat him up one time. They sent like 3 guys in on him. He knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So
did he fight back?
He did fight back.
Good for him.
But they got him. And so they lumped him up, and you don't tell over there, so you get lumped up and you don't go to the chow hall.
Yeah.
You make sure you just stay away.
You don't go eat, you go to medical, you don't do nothing.
You wear sunglasses everywhere.
You lay underneath your sheets.
Yep. All that stuff. So he did that.
Yeah.
But he was still getting high.
Oh.
He would go to like other parts of the yard.
Yeah, get it from different races.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So he was doing that. So they told him basically, if you don't come up with this money, we're going to stick you.
Yeah.
And so he ended up what they call checking in.
Yeah, he checked in. He went into protective custody.
That's what they call it. It comes from the
Vault.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
won't mention any names, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, one nation means Walt.
Well,
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah. We have a good friend of ours. I love Walt, but
He's a good kid, but that's what it is. That drug, man. It just
yeah, heroin.
it takes over, and people make these really just terrible decisions. I was thankful because by the time I got to prison,
Yeah.
I wasn't running up debts. I wasn't doing any of
Yeah.
that stuff. 20 years.
Oh, I did a couple times.
Yeah.
Paid for it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I did that.
Yeah, 19 years. I never got a dirty UA. So
Yeah. I never got a dirty, but I did get caught with a homemade
yeah,
point. So
yeah,
yeah, that's a major ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting in Tucson hole for 30 days until they done with their little 2A investigation. So
But yeah, I mean, you see stuff like that's the story.
that's normal there.
Yeah, most of the
Yeah.
time when anybody gets, any kind of, I mean, there's always personal issues where guys fight,
Yeah.
but most of the time when you see people get really, really hurt, it's because
Yeah.
they ran up a dope debt. That's number one, or they were a rat,
Or you know what?
yeah, absolutely. So
A diddler.
yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
they would try to mix those guys in, and
They
I
try
mean,
to sneak them in.
yeah, I got a bunch of stories, but Central Unit was, since Dan wanted to know about it. Yeah, no, it's bad.
Ginger
Yeah.
so everybody, if you see my nose go like this, it's Ginger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
trying-
my goodness, Ginger.
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad, but we're just gonna have to rough it because the camera's
She's
here.
right here behind me.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
She's looking at me
Sweetheart.
in my face. She wants me to pet her, but it's
yeah,
bad.
it is bad, Ginger. That is
Oh.
oil based too. That
Yeah.
will not disperse with. I have the air conditioning on.
It's-
It's blowing. It's
like
sticking
it's
around.
like a sulfur
yeah,
kind of.
it's
like
got a
a
eggy.
hint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got a handle on it,
Yeah.
so she's carrying it with her.
yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be in my clothes.
Oh my
I'm pretty
goodness,
sure.
Ginger.
It's a bad one.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
Oh, we were talking about prison shit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Central Unit. Yeah, so it's crazy because guys will get stabbed over there.
Yeah.
What they would do is like there was a specific spot where there was a certain room where so when you're coming out of the building, you got to go up the stairs. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
in the basement.
Yeah.
You got to go up the stairs and you got to go out.
Yeah. You probably got like a little area.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a little area where
away
you got
from cameras.
you got to
Yeah.
squeeze by the cell on the end. So what they would do is the guys that were running stuff, they would get the cops to move a certain person in right there.
Oh boy.
So when a guy was coming by that they wanted to get,
yeah.
he would grab them through the bars and pull them and
And then
hold them.
stick them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'd get razors and they'd slice them up or they'd stick them or
Yeah.
whatever. And then you'd hear, everything go down, see a bunch of cops running.
Yeah.
And then
Hear the radios squawking.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
you weren't going to wreck. You
That's
weren't going to wreck that day, and
Yeah.
you weren't going.
yeah. You're in your cell the rest of the day.
Yeah, for maybe a week. We
I
went
won't
a
miss
whole
that.
week without it. Yeah.
I won't miss the radio squawking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah.
It's like torture. Radio squawk. If I hear it today, I still don't like it. Like
Yeah.
they have all these radios on the hip little thing right here, and they're squawking and talking all day. So
Yeah.
you could be sleeping at night. They do a run. They do a walk and you run, and the thing squawks and wakes you up. So I don't miss radio squawks, dude.
No, I don't miss it either. You know what
Yeah.
else I don't miss?
What's
Having
that?
a flashlight shining in your face
Oh.
at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Piers, is that you? No, dude, it's somebody different.
Yeah.
I escaped.
Yeah, sound asleep, man.
Yeah,
they come
dude.
through and they shine a flashlight in your face to
Yeah.
make sure. you're
Every
alive.
now and again, it wasn't every night they do that. It was always when you were sleeping great, though. You
Yeah.
ever notice that when you're like really out and having? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Some guys would mess with them too. Like the cops, they'd come by.
Oh yeah,
And they
yeah.
would bang their bunk
Yep.
like with a flashlight or
Yeah.
something. So
Because everything's metal, right? So
Yeah.
ding dong, your locker. They hit your locker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked.
that's the situation. You just never. The biggest thing with prison is you want to try to be comfortable, and that's like human nature, anyways.
Yeah.
Human beings want to be comfortable.
You
more
try
than
to do the
anything
best
else.
you can do there,
That's
right?
it. That's it,
Yeah.
man. So ended up going down to a 4-yard. Was there for gosh, I don't even know. What was that? 3 years maybe.
That Kaibab.
Kaibab, yeah.
Kaibab's also, everybody doesn't understand. I've been to Winslow, Arizona, and it is freezing there.
And it's windy.
Yeah, and it's
Nonstop.
windy nonstop because
year.
it's on a high plain, desert plain.
Yeah.
And in the winter, I mean, what, 6 months out of the year it's cold there? So you're
it's
wrecking
cold.
and running and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because of the elevation. It's real high elevation.
You go to rec, you go to the chow hall, and it's all single file line
Oh,
over
yeah.
there on the 4-yard.
And you're waiting.
You would have the races separated, so
Yeah.
the whites would go first.
Yep. Then the
and
Chicanos.
the Chicanos would
Yeah.
go second, and then the blacks would go last.
Yeah.
But you would walk.
What about the Chiefs, dude?
Oh, the Chiefs would go with us.
They mixed. Oh, they would. Oh, that's
they,
cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and there wasn't that many of them though. But yeah,
They're never. So Chiefs are talking about Native Americans.
Yeah.
So the Native American population is very little, and they get sweat lodges at the
They
yards
do.
I was at. So they have their own tent with the rocks and everything.
Yeah.
Did they have that at Kaibab for them?
They did. They
oh
had.
my God, that would be a perfect place if they had a beef.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Hot rocks.
It happened.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
So what happened was
Nothing surprises me.
They had they literally had tribal warfare.
Oh my God.
While I was there, so it was the Navajo, it was the Dene,
Yep.
and it was the Hopis.
Oh yeah.
And so they hate each other, but like in the prison system,
They roll together for the numbers.
Yeah, and they tried to make peace. So what happened was they were sharing the Hogan, the sweat lodge. They were sharing it between the two different ones. So there's a story that one of, I don't know if it was, I can't remember. I think it might have been, they blamed each other, but one of the tribes, it was either Hopi or the Navajo.
Yeah.
They were stashing stuff in the sweat lodge.
Yeah, they get it taken away.
Dope and shanks and all that. They had a metal crew there on the 4-yard. It was crazy. They actually literally had, it was maintenance, but they had metal crew where they went and they welded and stuff like that on the 4-yard. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Back in the early they
found, no more, I bet.
They found swords
that
these guys had made, and all the drainage pipes underneath the sidewalks. They were stashing them there.
Yeah. Or they dig the sidewalk out and put it underneath and rebury it underneath the sidewalk.
They had made literal swords.
Oh my
God! It was bone crushers, they called them.
Yeah.
So what had happened was the natives, they ended up putting some stuff in the sweat lodge and got busted.
Oh, and then they lost it.
They lost it.
Yeah.
So there was a period.
Disaster.
Yeah, there was a period for I think it was 2-3 weeks where anytime that we go to the chow hall, there was riots in the chow hall, and they knew it was coming every time.
Well, that's the only place when you're on a 4-yard that you can get it, and it sucks because some people need to eat. You know, and sometimes you get maced. I was maced, bombed. They had these big canisters at the lobby, and they hit us. Yeah. And they send you outside, and then that thing that keeps the flies out blows it all in your face.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So one person gets sprayed, everybody's getting sprayed.
Yeah, everybody, especially in that environment.
Yeah. So those guys were going at it pretty heavy. People were getting stabbed. People were getting smashed out.
Dude.
It was bad for weeks. It was like that.
Yeah.
And of course, this was the same time when there was all the beef that was going on with the Arizona inmates and the California inmates. The Chicanos, Arizona inmates, and
Norteños, Sereños.
Yeah, all those guys. They had to keep them all separated. And then the Paisas too. There was these guys called the Border Brothers.
Yeah, Border Brothers.
Yeah, they had their own thing in the prison system.
Yeah.
The Paisas, the Mexican nationals. So it was all those different groups. They were all at war. And then when I first came in, there was, because I'm half white, half Mexican, I roll with the Chicanos. There was beef between the Mafia, between the old and the new. Yeah. And it was just like crazy. It was like conflict.
Perfect storm.
War, just across the board, every single race, and then within groups and all that stuff. So, and then there was like the regular Pisces who just wanted to do their time. And they just wanted to live peacefully. Yeah. And they hated the Border Brothers too, because they would come to Central Unit and they would try to
take it over.
They would try to take it over and lay down the law and all that. And so there was all kinds of people getting smashed all the time. But by the time by the time I got to Kaibab, that stuff was still going on. But they ended up they made peace. Because what had happened, it was too much.
Yeah, you can't roll like that, and nobody can make any money.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it's always about that too, by the way. Make on those yards.
It's always all yards. All prison politics are, and how it was originally started. There were some good things in it
to protect people.
Yeah, to protect people from getting raped and from getting taken advantage of and all that stuff. So everything was separated into races.
Yeah, which comes from California.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you roll with your own.
Yep.
And so you have protection. No other race is going to take advantage of you. If there's beef between, and it was so bad at one point they said you can't even talk to black dudes.
Yeah, I've been on yards where they say that. And I was friends with people that were. I was friends with everybody, every race when I was in there.
Yeah, there was a time when I was at Kaibab. There was always tension. There was always stuff.
That's the way 4 yards are.
Yeah, it was about
Raycon was like that too.
And they were like, you can't talk to them. Some guys, were getting beat
Yeah.
up for like cooking with them
Yep.
and like
And
working. Yeah, so
that was a big no-no.
yeah, they take it seriously. So
Yeah.
all that stuff is when you talk about prison politics, it's all broken up into divisions of races.
But it all comes down to money.
But it's all money and it's all dope and it's
Yep.
all control of that stuff.
Yep. Dope, phones, just anything they can do to get money. Anything.
Yeah.
They make money on everything there. Like, people have hustles, right? I made suckers.
Mhm.
Like, and I sold out within one day.
Yeah.
I would make 50 of them at $1 a piece, and I would every day,
Yeah.
and they would be gone. My last 2 months, I had a lot of money on my books.
Yeah,
from that.
absolutely.
That's crazy.
Guys were making cheesecakes and
Yep.
guys were making brownies and
Yeah, and
all
if you
that
haven't
stuff.
had that stuff in a while, it tastes good. Trust me. After a
does
long
taste
time,
pretty good,
and you
yeah.
get out and you're like, God, I wouldn't eat
Yeah.
that. I thought about making some of that suckers for my
Yeah.
kids. Like, my daughters were asking about it,
Mhm.
and I was like, but where am I going to get the cups? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because I have to
yeah.
make them like I made them with the medical pill cups. That's
Mhm.
the way I'd make it. You take a Q-tip.
Yeah.
So it was Kool-Aid and
Mhm.
Jolly Ranchers, and you'd find different combinations from the secure pack in the store to make
Yeah.
different flavors, you know. So
Yeah.
cherry lemonade, that was the popular one. So you would take this little, what was it, a hair grease or something? Remember the white jar with the black lid? What was that?
Oh, the like pomade.
Bergamot.
Bergamot.
Bergamot. So you take that all out, clean it all out, put the Kool-Aid in, put the Jolly Ranchers on top, and you nuke it and keep stirring it.
These guys are pretty smart in there, man.
Yeah, they make. I mean,
Yeah.
those actually. It was just Jolly Ranchers and Kool-Aid mixed
Yeah.
together and hardened like a sucker. And I was,
Yeah.
man, it's pretty good, dude.
That's great.
Yeah.
I got pretty good at drawing, and so that was my hustle for a little
What
while.
envelopes?
Envelopes. I was
Yeah.
doing I would do like full portraits.
Yep.
And some of those I sold one for like $70.
Oh man, I've seen artwork go for that.
Yeah.
There. Some people really are amazing artists in
Yeah,
there.
and I was okay. I was pretty good. There was guys that were like really
Yeah.
good. I looked at those guys. Those guys were really good.
Yeah, like naturally, like they had it in them.
super clean, man.
Yeah, like line work would be pencil and pen,
Yeah.
and you're like, what did you draw this with? By the time you're looking at the finished product, you're like, what did you do that with?
Yeah,
You can't even. Oh, it's pencil.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
yeah.
Didn't even look like
It's
pencil.
wild. It's pretty
It's
nice
crazy.
too when guys come and they just dump out a
Mhm.
whole bunch of store on your bed.
Yep.
You know, for work you did. That was
Yeah,
like,
honest work too.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that's what at the end when I got sober in there in 2014.
Mhm.
So my last four and a half years was honest hustles and
Good.
no dope and none of that. So I mean, there was a couple years, man, where I had to do the other because I had no money coming in. My family was pissed, you know,
Yeah,
and
100%.
rightfully so. I was out, you know, being a knucklehead. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is like, you know, both of me and him have kind of a similar story. He got saved before I did, but I mean, eventually, if you're in prison long enough and you're just tired of it and you've come to the end of yourself, you usually start going to church and you usually find something because you're open to it.
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of guys, if they're only in for a couple of years, end up coming back.
Yeah.
But the guys that do a long time, they end up finding Christ and they
Mhm.
come out and they're pillars in their community. They start ministries, they do all kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool to watch, man. And I've
Yeah.
seen it a bunch. I've really only seen a few people that have did like 10 or more years go back.
Yeah.
I think only one that I know of, and then Walt 7. He did 7. But Walt's a knucklehead. You know what I mean? He's just a young
Yeah.
kid. He went in really young. So
Yeah, I remember when he came in. I think he was like 24 or something.
Yeah,
He
dude.
first went in. He was
yeah.
a nice kid, man. Just had problems.
Well, I mean, this is kind of an amazing story. So let me give you a little background. So Walt Willis is one of the best guitar players, best musicians
Yeah,
that
he's
I've
really
ever
good.
been around.
He's really
So
good.
he did my band's Deepest Bones, and had it in prison. So Walt Willis and then John Fabricius, they were part of that. We wrote these songs together. We recorded them when we got out, and you
Yeah.
can listen to them on our Deepest Bones on all platforms. This is not a shameless plug.
Yep.
So Walt was probably one of the best musicians, but what had happened before he went to prison a couple of years before that, he was out at the Salt River,
Yeah.
and he was on a cliff, and a lot of people were jumping off this cliff, and he hesitated at the last minute
Yeah.
and broke every bone in his body and
Yeah.
fell down the cliff.
Amazing he survived.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, he's got a calling on his life for sure.
He does.
And he broke every bone, got addicted to the opioids like I did. You know, same thing. I had surgery and I got on, and then eventually, you know, it leads to heroin. So anyway, he was a good kid, but he couldn't seem to get sober. And
Couldn't shake
his
it.
mom died when he was a kid, bro. So he had these two things working against him, and just couldn't shake it, man. So hopefully this sentence he shakes it. I
Hopefully
emailed
it
with
is.
him, so
Oh, do you?
yeah.
Nice.
He
Good.
of course he asked me for money, and I told him no. Let me see. Let me prove it to me. You're a
Make sure
Christian.
make sure you're not buying dope.
Yeah, I wanna make sure.
You don't want to enable someone.
Yeah, but if I see a change in him, it'll be apparent in an email, believe it or not. Holy Spirit will talk to me and say he's really doing it.
Yeah,
And then I would help him for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and I just realized that you'd asked me how how I actually got saved.
Yes.
And
Let's go back. Sorry, we get sidetracked because it's
This
such
is really
interesting.
Rando Cammando, right?
It is Rando Commando for this
Place.
reason because this is the discussions that we have friends of ours that ask us this stuff a lot. So
We didn't plan any. We didn't plan anything.
there's no agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll end up talking about who knows what, God knows what. But so I ended up in Central Unit, and it's all bars, like I
Okay.
said. So where they put me at was right next to this guy. His name was oh gosh, what was his name? I'm drawing a blank right now.
It's all right.
Anyways,
Dude.
sorry, you know who you are if you're
Yeah.
watching. But he told me about Jesus, and so
Like what did he say? Do you remember?
he was right next to me, and he started we started talking, and I was already in the county jail. I was kind of going to a couple of little Bible studies
Yeah.
here and there. I had like gotten away from the Satanism once my mind had cleared, and I felt like, I was hurt, man. I think that's what most people, what keeps them from coming to the Lord is their hurt.
Yeah.
And
Church hurt too.
yeah, they're trying to reconcile stuff in their lives.
Yep.
And, like, why would God allow, X, Y, and Z and all that?
Yes.
So he started talking to me just about Jesus, and it was cool because he did it in a way where he didn't like hit me over the head with it.
Yeah.
It was just like little things here and there.
Yeah.
And I
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he knew.
So we just started talking, and he asked me if I believed in because he said, "Well, what do you believe?" And I said, "I don't know. So I'm Jehovah's Witness, I guess."
Yeah.
That's what I was raised in. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like, that's what I just kind of, claimed myself to be. And he said, do you guys believe in the rapture? I didn't know what he was talking about. I'm like, I don't know. What is that?
What is that? Yeah.
So he told me about it.
Oh, yeah.
And so he started telling me about the rapture, and he started telling me about some different things that I had never heard before, but there was something like in my spirit that resonated with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that, like, there's something in me that it makes sense.
Inherently.
Like, it's testifying, right? It was the
Yep.
spirit of God. So I started like watching TBN, and there's not a lot of some of that stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, some of it.
Some of it is not great,
Yep.
but I started learning about Jesus, and
Some of it's really good though.
yeah, some of it's
Yeah.
good. There's some good teachers on there.
Yeah.
I like Joyce Meyer. Joseph Prince was pretty good at that
Dude,
time.
one of my favorites just got arrested. Robert
Oh,
Morris.
man,
Dude,
I
I
was
was heartbroken. I was heartbroken, dude.
I found that by accident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. It just showed up in my feed. So Robert Morris was a pastor in Texas
Yeah.
from Cornerstone. He was one of my people that I really watched every week because he was a great teacher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yep.
sad.
yeah, it's sad.
And it happens
Yeah.
a lot, man. People that have
Great calling on their life, great
calling
attacks.
yeah,
Mhm.
and a lot of attacks, spiritual attacks, stuff from the enemy. All that stuff is demonic, and lust and all that. So people succumb to it. It's sad.
Yeah.
But I had just been persuaded by what I was hearing and what I was studying, and then I ended up getting in some trouble in Central Unit.
Always, dude.
Yeah, I got in some trouble, and they put me to work.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting in trouble. I went to another building.
Yep. Yep.
And the room I ended up in, there was a guy, and I remember his name. His name was Philip Martinez. And so he was right next to me. He was a believer, and he started telling me, talking to me about
Nice.
the Lord. Yeah.
Nice.
So God put me in these places where, and you get familiar, and you talk to your neighbors.
Yeah.
Because
You got to. You have nothing else to do all day.
Absolutely. So
Yep.
you're kind of
Get to
isolated.
know people.
You get to know them, man, and you talk about everything. And so by that time, I was already like persuaded in that area.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a Bible.
Mm.
And when you have all the time in the world,
Yeah.
I would read that Bible. It showed up one day on my bars.
Yeah.
Showed up right there. Picked it up and I started reading it. And I just read it. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I
what
don't
was-
even know what you're doing in the
I
beginning.
didn't even know what I was reading, but I would literally, some days, 8 hours a day, I was reading.
Oh yeah.
And I read the entire Bible in 2.5 months. They have that 1 year plan?
Yeah, yeah.
2 months.
Well, when you're on a high level,
yeah, you got
else to do.
nothing else to do. But
Well, that's crazy though
that's
because
what God needed, though.
but think about that for a minute. I've been on those yards where you're locked down, and it's
Yeah.
TV,
Yeah.
TV, naps, read a novel,
Yeah.
Maybe
Workout.
write some workout,
Yeah.
write some letters, do whatever, anything but read that Bible when you're not a believer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is a point, like I was saying earlier, where that time comes. I believe everybody's in there is given that choice and that chance.
God reaches out to everybody, man.
Yeah, he does. He makes he introduces himself to everybody. I believe, and it's
Really
whether or
does.
not we take the invitation or not. So.
Yeah, I was reading books, on mysticism, like New Age stuff.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
reading books on,
Which is demonic, by the way.
it is Buddhism.
Yeah.
I even had a book like on hypnotism.
Oh yeah.
Back then, you could get those books. Now they banned a lot of those.
Yep.
But I remember it was one on tarot card reading that you could use
Oh,
regular cards.
God.
Dude, I was dabbling in some
Jeez.
crazy, because I was looking for
Yeah.
like
Looking for
spirituality.
answers,
I was
man.
looking for answers.
Yep.
And so I was doing all that, and I get saved in the midst of it. And it started my journey, man,
Yeah, it's
of
great.
transforming me. And I remember at one point somebody offered me they always offer you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Of course.
a little 50 paper
Yeah.
of heroin, right?
Yep.
It's like a little smudge of
Yeah, a little
black tar
smear.
heroin in a piece of plastic.
It's a little schmear.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
smear.
You can see through it half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's how they hook you. They give you that little, they give you a taste,
Yep.
and then
That's what happened to me.
yeah, and then it starts a habit. So I was able to say no to a lot of stuff, and by the time I ended up getting to Kaibab, I wasn't a strong believer, but I was still reading the Bible,
Yeah.
and I ended up going from Kaibab to Colorado. It was a private.
I remember all that.
Yeah.
Dave Keeley told me about that.
Yeah, it was.
What up, Dave?
That yard, man, was like, it was crazy. They had
Oh my
everything that
God.
the old Arizona prison system used to have.
Yeah.
They had free weights, weight
Oh.
pile. Yeah, they had like the best food. It was all beef, like everything:
Yeah,
hamburgers,
dude.
hot dogs, French
Yeah.
fries. They would give
I
us
heard
ice.
that about Indiana too.
Yeah, Indiana, and
Yeah.
so it was just like it was a vacation from prison.
Yeah. How long were you there?
I was there 10 months. The reason why I was there for so short is because Arizona, which had a contract
Yep.
with CCA,
Yep.
which was the private prison firm.
Which still exists.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called Core Civic now.
Yeah.
They changed the
And
name.
which is owned by Wackenhut, which
Yeah.
is a whole other
It
conspiracy.
trades on the New York
Yeah.
on the stock exchange,
Yep.
and so there's contracts between the state of Arizona and these private prisons.
Yep.
So they pay DOC X amount of money per inmate. They have to guarantee, DOC, Department of Corrections,
Yeah,
has to
dude.
guarantee 90% occupancy,
It's crazy,
Jeez.
dude. To me,
Yeah.
it's so crazy to me.
in which you want to get to a whole other
God.
level where they use, like, and it's mandatory.
Yep.
You have to work in the Arizona prison system.
Yep.
So it's basically slave
Slave labor.
And there was a lot of legislation where they were trying to do away with that because of the 13th Amendment.
Yep.
And so it didn't go through. But a lot of companies are using inmate labor. And
So nuts.
the crazy thing about it is they will actually pay a lot of money per inmate, and then
It's like 30-some thousand a year.
Department of Corrections will only pay, like, you get a 45 cent an hour.
Yeah,
job.
dude, and they're paying you like normal.
Yeah, if you get an outside clearance, when I was at Globe,
Yep.
those guys were going out and they were doing real legitimate work.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were getting paid like 45 cents.
Yeah.
50
Well,
cents.
usually out the gates,
A
50.
dollar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
50.
yeah, it was 50 cents, and then some guys were getting paid $1. They were working for ADOT and all that.
Yep.
So there's this whole machine
Oh yeah, dude.
of keeping people incarcerated. Of course, we don't do them any favors by getting in trouble either. And so
We're gonna take a little break, real quick. I'll be
Yeah.
back and bathroom break. So
right.
that's what happens when you're an older gentleman. It just does.
Sorry, man.
That's me, I know. So we were talking about how private prisons are traded on the stock exchange, and how I heard it's like 34,000 roughly a year they pay for every inmate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the state of Arizona has private prisons and they have state-owned prisons. And what I've noticed is they're shutting down all the state prisons slowly and then switching us to, like, Red Rocks. They have a new CCA there.
Yeah.
So it's still the same old, just them saving money.
Yeah, 100%. So, and you have to work. That's
Yeah.
the thing about it. You have to. You cannot opt out. So they have the phase system where it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Yep.
You cannot work.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you cannot work and just say, I'm not going to work. And what they end up doing is they have you as a phase 1.
Yeah.
So that's like, and that's where they start everybody off in the system. When you first come in, you start
Yeah,
off
it starts
with
phase 1.
the phase 1. If you do get a job, it's like 15 cents an hour.
Yeah, nothing.
And you get 4 hours of visitation, I think, like on a
Yep.
Saturday.
I can't remember how that works. How long did it take to get to phase 3? I can't remember.
It's every 6 months.
Oh, yeah,
you,
that's
you
right.
move up a phase.
Like a year, you get on phase 3. Yeah.
You get
Yeah, it
phase 3.
limits your visitation. You have to work in like the kitchen, and that's like the worst job.
It is.
What was the dish room called? What was it called? They had a name for it, where you wash dishes.
Oh man, no, the clipper room.
Clipper room.
Nobody wants to be in the clipper.
Nobody
room,
wants to
man.
be in the dishwasher
It
because you
sucks.
got 1,000 inmates you're washing their trays, and
You
it
get
just
it.
sucks.
And I worked it when I was in Colorado. They put me in the clipper room.
Oh,
It was on hamburger day. So
oh,
hamburger day, you get people would just come for the burger, and so they would leave the beans
yep.
and sometimes they would leave the pudding.
Yeah, they wouldn't even touch it.
So you have these trays come in,
Yep.
and they're like coming in one after another, after
Yep.
another, after another. You got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, because you load them in, you have to load them in a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So you have to rinse them off and then with a
Rinse them
sprayer and then throw them in the dishwasher, close it, and they have to be sanitized too. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
God, I hated
So
that.
it sucks, man. And you don't get paid anything doing it either.
Yeah, 15 cents or 10.
Yeah, but then there was some guys that they loved working in the kitchen because
Yeah,
they would
because they could eat.
They would eat. Yeah,
Mhm.
they would
They'd make their own stuff.
make their own stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that we were eating, they would make concoctions in there,
Yeah.
and they'd bring it home and they would sell it. I've seen that too.
all that stuff,
Yeah, it's crazy. Prison crazy,
and they
man.
would still they actually had rules against that. You could like on chicken day,
Yeah,
you
couldn't steal a chicken.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because then there would be nothing to eat on the trays.
yeah, because they only give you enough on chicken day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
I remember that.
So they
dude.
put those systems in place just amongst us, and of course, after time, it like they had like these really good cookies that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And by the time you went to chow,
They're out.
they're out
Yeah,
because they sold them on the yard.
yeah, because they'd have bags of them.
Yeah. So there was all that stuff, but
Everything's a hustle.
everything.
Everything's a hustle. So let's pivot here. Let's talk about like what's going on today. How's 2 years out? So
Yep.
what struggles did you have getting out? What's
Yeah.
some of the highlights of getting out?
Well, I think, and it was like because we talked about a bunch of negatives, right?
Yep.
And that's like the system and everything else.
Yeah.
So just to kind of like bridge those two things,
All right.
when I was, I'd say 2011, I got involved in the band program.
Okay.
That's where I met Johnny Fab.
Yep.
Johnny Fab. And Johnny Fab is just an amazing human being, super smart,
Yes, he is.
super talented.
Yep. And I think he's slowly converting to being a Republican.
I think
he might be, dude. So
he's middle-aged
kudos.
white, so
yeah,
that's
he's definitely.
kind of
They're definitely trying to.
requirement, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I think everybody's seen the 4 years under Joe Biden and
Yeah, man.
them actively trying to destroy this country.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, we all know
Actively-
that.
Actively trying to destroy this
To
country.
sell it out to foreign interests, to take everything we own, turn us into
What's so funny too?
smart cities.
yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
They'll burn everything first.
Yeah.
They can build a
The
smart city
DW
together.
stuff is crazy to me, dude.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I
Mhm.
just watched another video yesterday. They had the 3 different colors and
Yeah.
they ran the laser
Blue.
across, and the blue was fine.
Yeah.
Then they showed some other fires I think it's in South America where the smart city company is, and they burned that too.
Those guys are evil, man.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
How do we?
You saw the hot mic moment with Joe Biden, right? Where it was I don't know if it was the address, was the State of the Union.
Yeah,
I saw the video. He was talking to one of his aides,
yeah.
and he said, hey, those homes that were painted blue, he said they didn't burn. He said we got to fix that.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally,
Oh, I'm sure he
I
did,
saw,
man.
I saw the video. So if you look at the overlay of the smart cities where all the fires were,
Yep.
they line up perfectly, match up perfectly.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Of course, like
That's evil, man.
like you coming from Maui, I mean, you know all about
Oh,
that.
dude, Lahaina, bro.
Yeah.
That broke my heart. I have very fond memories of Lahaina
Yeah.
and living there and going to meetings there. That place is gone. They have a banyan tree. I think it made it. If anybody's from Hawaii, let me know. But there was a beautiful banyan tree by the courthouse,
Mm.
and we used to sit under there and just hang out. And it just really bummed me out. And all the people that were lost and children missing. It was just crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's like that's what the 4 years of Joe Biden was like.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
man.
It's just
Evil.
evil.
I mean, before that, it was Obama
Yeah, man.
for 8 years, and
Yeah.
he could only do so much back then because the culture was different.
Yeah,
But once they opened the floodgates of all the we are going to piss some people off,
that's okay.
all the trans stuff and all
man.
that whole agenda, it's to subvert
Well, we all know
It's
that most of the
Christian
people.
values.
Yeah, correct. And the people that aren't, and that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Not going to be fun for you in the end, but
No.
that's okay.
I saw a thing the other day.
Hmm.
They said that liberals are so fed up with the country. There's record numbers of them that are applying for UK
Well,
citizenship.
that's fine. Go
I
there
said, well, let
then.
them go.
Well, see what they don't know is they're going over there and they're going to be they don't want them over there. The people don't want them over there. So it's just crazy. We live in the end times, I believe.
Yeah, in the UK, the people are actually getting arrested for preaching the gospel.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on TikTok the other day, and it doesn't surprise me though from what their citizens are posting on TikTok. It doesn't surprise me. And if I know, and you know as well as I do that that's all demonic. It's all
Yeah,
It's the
100%.
but what I think happened, dude, is I think that Trump. I believe that God wanted Trump in office. I know because I followed
Yeah.
it, and he's interrupting all this stuff. And
How deep do you want to get on this?
I go deep all the time, dude.
Okay,
You know
cool.
that. You
All
know
right.
that.
So, what I was saying the other day, so you hear a lot of stuff about like the Nephilim, you hear a lot of stuff about like reptilians, all that stuff they talk about, right? And there's
Hmm.
all that video out there where you can see people like shape shifting,
Yep.
more from you see the forked tongue and all that stuff. So, if you look at Genesis 6, where
Which I have the book of Enoch in there too. By the way.
yeah,
Yeah. I just read it.
so it said that there were giants in the earth in those days.
Yep.
Comes from the word Nephilim or Nephil, right? The fallen ones.
Yep.
And so it said there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came.
Yeah. What was Goliath?
Yeah, exactly. That was after the flood.
Amalekites, dude.
Yeah, they weren't all destroyed in the flood.
Yep.
And so when the Israelites, when they went into the promised land, well, and a lot of people they say, well, how could God command the Israelites to kill, women and children even?
Because
they
they're
don't understand.
corrupted.
They were corrupted.
They're corrupted.
The bloodlines were infected
Yeah.
with Nephilim bloodlines.
That's correct. Because
So-
it says in the book of Enoch, they were with animals,
Yeah,
humans, everything.
yeah.
That's why we had to wipe out everything in the flood, even
True.
the animals.
So-
And the ones that Noah had were pure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's why he had to bring in clean animals.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it says Noah was a man that was perfect in his generations, in
Yep.
his genealogy.
Had no corruption
His
of
bloodline
Nephilim.
was without corruption,
Yep.
of Nephilim bloodline. So God had to
Yep.
flood the earth to destroy all the earth had become corrupted.
Yep.
And they were like with beasts and everything else. The real interesting thing is like there was no idol worship before the flood. So a lot of scholars theorize that after the flood, because those giants perished
Yep.
physically, but
Their spirits.
their spirits,
Yep.
because they weren't
Yep.
of God, they remained in the earth as demonic,
Which probably still here, dude.
as evil spirits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when Jesus was casting out all of those demons in the in the Gospels, you read those stories. Those demons, the demonic spirits, were the spirits of giants of Nephilim.
I believe that, dude. And I just had, I think I told you, I went to Deliverance last week, and I didn't really believe in all that. I mean,
Yeah.
my thoughts about it, but I seen people like throw up and stuff doing it before, but I did it. And Rich, when he named, called out the spirit that he thought I was dealing with,
Mhm.
and I'd never heard of it. It's Shamuel,
Mhm.
so like Samuel, but Shamuel. So we look it up. It's the spirit of death,
Mhm.
right? Generational, he believed, but
Yeah.
so he's praying over me, and I was open to it. I said, all right, I'm gonna be open to it and just see. And my throat closed. I
Yeah.
choked. I started crying uncontrollably. I've never done that before, dude.
Mhm.
And who was sitting right next to me. So,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that in front of them. So my throat closed and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk, and I was choking and coughing, dude. And then everything just like came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, and the next day I went home, slept better than I ever slept. And the next day I was as happier than I've ever been in my life.
Good.
Probably that's why I'm taking this so good. I feel like that left. So when major things used to happen to me in my life and my addiction, out of
Mhm.
addiction, I've always thought about like, well, I could just go be with Jesus, right? Just one shot, you're done, or one fentanyl blast, whatever. And I didn't have that this time. That was the first time ever that didn't hit me. So
Spirit of death.
yeah, so it had left. And what the Bible says is it says that once one leaves, seven more, you know what I mean, come back. They look for dry places when they can't find it. He finds the house swept clean, right? So the house is swept clean, and the seven more come back, or 10 more, whatever it says.
Yeah.
So with the blow up, I think that's kind of what happened with that. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
Because it was very life changing that night. I never really spoke about it much, but
Mhm.
deliverance is when you go to a deliverance pastor that can pray over you, and he sees things that you might not be able to see and get them out of you. Some people believe in it, some people don't. I was an unbeliever until last Wednesday night, and now I kind of think that there's something to it. I'm not fully convinced, but I'm getting there, because we've talked about this. Dan Moeller, we've been delivered from the power of sin and darkness is what it says in the Bible. So I know that like with the Nephilim stuff he's talking, there's a whole bunch of codes in that Bible. I really do. I think
Mhm.
there's codes in there because Jesus talked in parables. Like there's a lot of things in there that maybe the writers couldn't express and
Yeah,
books were left out, like the Book of Giants, the Book of Enoch. So, I rely upon the Holy Spirit.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I felt like because I've had experiences with demonic ever since I was a kid.
Yeah,
Uh,
you should hear his crazy stories about ghosts, dude.
Crazy stuff that I've actually physically seen with my eyes. At the time I was just like a little
Well, a
guy.
lot of Christians don't believe in ghosts,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I don't necessarily believe in a human spirit, disembodied spirit inhabiting the world and being stuck here.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I do believe there's probably stuff like, place memories and all that where energy gets stored
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
But I don't think the actual souls of people.
No, no.
I think a lot of times what happens is when people see like their loved ones, I think those are demons.
Yeah.
Those are disguising
Yeah,
themselves
correct.
as their father or their mother or their grandparents or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But I've seen that stuff since I was a kid,
That's
and
awesome. In a
yeah,
way, you know what I
yeah.
mean? If you think about it.
And so the really cool thing about it was me seeing that stuff when I was a kid and
Mhm.
actually coming, seeing something standing behind me in the mirror when I was 8 years old,
Yeah,
just like staring at me in the doorway, seeing that thing, I recognized and I knew from then on that
that
there
was
was
something.
something else beyond what we see with our natural
Yeah.
eyes, right?
Yeah.
There's something more this what we see here, it's it's less real than what actually exists in the spiritual
Yeah.
realm because that spiritual realm existed first before God created any of
Yeah,
this.
because it talks about the Bible, the third heaven,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also believe, dude, that what we're seeing now is a manifestation of CERN technology opening
It's
portals.
true, man.
I don't know how much you guys know about that, but if you research it, CERN and portals, dude, I think they've been with that Hadron Collider. They're trying to open up portals
They
to
are.
bring in demonic spirits. They're not aliens, too, man. I'm not convinced that they're from outer space. They may or may not be, but I really think that the gray aliens. I've heard it said that the gray aliens are us in the future, which I think, because the devil's a liar and he's cunning. That those are just demons disguised that
Yeah.
live in the darkness. That's why their eyes are so big. They're the underground dwellers. I
It's
have a whole bunch of my own
Yeah.
conspiracies, but I see stuff.
It's anything but Jesus. The
Yep.
devil can get people to believe in anything but Jesus. I'm not saying there's not weird stuff out there. There's not like interdimensional stuff like
Yo,
glitches in the matrix, all
yeah.
that stuff. So that with glitches in the matrix, sin entered into creation.
Yep.
So things don't operate the way that they're supposed to. So you can have little
Yeah.
glitches in reality and dimensional shifts and all that stuff. But I saw something a couple weeks back when they were showing. It was on Instagram. It was the Macron, the
Oh
president of
yeah.
France,
Yeah. Yeah.
Emmanuel
With
Macron.
his man wife.
Yeah, his dad, his
Yeah.
daddy wife,
Yeah.
his daddy tranny wife.
Hmm.
But it was him, and it was all the world leaders, it was all the EU, it was all those guys.
Yep.
And I kid you not, man, in this video, they're all throwing up
Yeah,
the
dude, because they're
Illuminati
all
symbol.
part of the family.
They're all throwing up the Illuminati symbols, which if you get to the core of what that stuff is,
I
it's
have Horus.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's all satanic. It's Lucifer worship, right?
Yep.
So the Holy Spirit, and it sounds weird to some people, I don't
All
care.
right.
But what God showed me in that is that these world leaders, Macron and all of them, they're all of certain bloodlines,
Yeah, 13 royal bloodlines. Yep.
like Nephilim
Yep.
bloodlines, and they know they're not human.
Yeah, I don't
And
think
it
they
sounds
are.
quick, but they're
I think they're part.
part human,
Yeah, part.
but they're not completely human. They
Yep.
know what they are. They know who they serve, their father, the devil.
Yep.
And what God showed me in this whole thing is they know that Trump is not one of them.
Yeah. Oh, they know.
And they know that the agenda, like he's been put in place by God,
Yep. And they can't do nothing.
they're powerless to stop him.
Yep.
That's what God showed me in
That's
that.
probably why they're capitulating to him.
They
You know
have
what I
no
mean?
they have no other
Yeah.
choice. They have
Yep.
no other choice. And they tried to take him out
And it didn't
a
work.
couple times, few times, whatever it is, didn't work. They
Probably
can't.
more than we know.
They can't. Yeah.
Probably more than we know.
And so they can't, and they know it. So they have to work with him, but they know that the time is coming when the rapture occurs and all the believers are taken.
Yeah.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but if it happened today, everybody's gone. Trump would be gone too, because Trump's
Yeah,
he's a
believer.
believer in Christ.
That's right.
He's a born again believer.
Yeah.
Then they would be unstoppable in their mission.
Do what they want.
They do whatever they want
Yeah.
to. The New World Order. You read in the Book of Revelation when it talks about like the beast system and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
It's lined up with everything that they're trying to do right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've read that book and studied that book.
And the crazy thing is, you look at guys like Brandon Biggs. He's talking about XRP.
Oh yeah,
And,
dude.
like,
Oh, we're going there.
yeah,
Oh, we're going to XRP land. We are the XRP army. We're part of it.
Absolutely.
I believe it's from God. So.
It is from God.
Mhm.
So I believe that it will be part of the beast system eventually, where no man
Yeah,
can
because
buy
they'll
or sell.
corrupt it.
They will
Yeah.
corrupt it.
Yeah.
In fact, at some point in the future, money will lose all of its value. And so you'll have to work an entire day in order to be able to buy a loaf of bread, because food will be scarce. And so you'll have to work and you'll have to labor. And you won't own anything. They'll probably provide you with housing. They'll provide you with food, whatever you need for
But just
your basic,
enough.
just enough to
Yep.
keep you alive.
Yep. That's what
and
they do in
and
slavery.
and to keep you enslaved, which is
Mhm.
what communism is, right?
Yep.
And that's why that whole side, they hate capitalism, because what that actually represents is a man working.
Freedom.
Yeah,
They
freedom.
represent freedom.
And God said, if a man doesn't work, neither shall he eat.
Yep.
And so they want to be taken care of. They want, that spirit of working hard and trying to make something of yourself, that comes from God.
Yeah, it does.
And that's what the left hates.
Yeah,
Because
they hate free thinking. They hate all that.
they want control, because the spirit of Satan, satanic, is control.
So, what do you think is going on with XRP? I did see some things this week. Did you?
I did see some things.
What's up with the ISO 2022 stuff?
So that certification, there's certain cryptocurrencies that they're going to be able to use.
I know that's one of them.
Yeah.
But when are they going to announce it? I heard June.
July.
July
14th.
It keeps getting pushed back.
It does keep getting pushed
I don't
back.
understand that.
Gives you an
There's a
opportunity to
reason.
buy more.
Well, what I think they're doing now with the price is I could be wrong. I'm just an idiot, bro. I'm just an electrician. You know what I mean? So I don't know anything about this. But what I do know is what the Holy Spirit's told me to do, which is buy. I think it stayed at $2 for a long time to let allow the banks to buy it. You know
They're
what I
buying
mean?
up a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's 100 billion tokens.
I heard that they're going to be gone soon too.
I heard that.
Yeah. So once they're gone, that's when I think that real price that's behind this thing's going to come out and make wealthy men out of a lot of us. So
I won't say how much I have, but I have enough to be comfortable.
Oh, I'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot. I'm not going to say. But here's the thing though, like I had to like go
get some.
Well, he knows this. He's been around me. So he could tell you this is true. I have struggled financially for the last 2 years. And so I think that was God. I don't look at it like God's punishing me or anything. I made decisions that were bad. So now I've straightened it out. But what God was doing was showing me how to be a good steward of those finances. So when it does hit and I do get it, I'm going to be like, okay, it's not Ferrari time. It's not Lamborghini, because I don't need that. It's like ministry time.
Yeah.
It's like time to help people. What can we do?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I've struggled. You asked me a question earlier. I think we're both kind of ADHD.
Oh, I definitely am.
So like, but I remember you asked me what's it been like getting out. So the last several years, I eventually do go back to where my previous point.
It's all right. It's Rando Cammando. We'll get there.
Yeah. So we're living up to the name right now.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So the last several years, I was involved in preaching the word. I was leading Bible studies.
Yeah.
I was at Globe Yard of 250 men. I had consistently 30 guys that would come.
Which is big for prison.
Yeah, 30 guys that would come and they would, receive the word, but have this, calling, this anointing to teach the word of God was powerful. A lot of guys were transformed. Like I prayed for people that were dying and they got healed.
Yeah, I heard that story.
I prayed for a guy. He had his hand crushed in a trash compactor because he had an outside clearance.
Oh, yeah.
In the trash. Yeah. So like God has used me like that.
And will continue to, I believe.
Absolutely. So I mean, I got out and I thought I'm going to go straight into ministry.
That's what I thought. Dude.
That's what I thought. I thought that was going to be like my thing. I was going to get out.
Me too.
I was going to go straight into ministry. Well, instead of going straight into ministry, I got out and I went straight into a relationship with a woman. Yeah. And totally, like, I'll be completely honest. Like, man. I derailed my calling. I derailed, I hadn't, I hadn't been with a woman for 2 decades. And,
I get it.
And so that's what happened. And I made a mistake, but I learned from it. But, my mentor, he told me, like, you made some mistakes. Because I was mad. I wanted to, like, get out. I wanted to succeed. I started doing, solar door to door, and I thought I was going to make a lot of money. Last year was the worst year for solar in the industry. And that was the year I started.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just angry and, I had a certain expectation of how I wanted things to happen in my life.
I can relate.
It didn't. But God showed me something the other day. And he's like, the reason why I didn't make you really successful and give you a lot of money, because you hadn't fixed your habits. I'm not talking about
Ooh.
drugs.
No, I get it.
I'm talking about patterns of thinking, and I
Yeah.
would have used that money, and I would have
Probably
used
been
it
irresponsible.
irresponsible.
Mhm.
You know,
Me too, bro. Me
Yeah.
too. I can relate.
and I probably would have spent it in the pursuit of women. And I just being honest, man, like
Yeah,
being
yeah.
totally, completely honest. I'm at this point now though, where it's like I want to do what God wants me to do. I don't want to have sex before
I
marriage.
agree. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
it brings a curse upon
Yes,
yourself.
it does.
You have soul ties
Yep.
with
With people that you're not even going to see. And then you got to break them later.
yeah, and they have soul ties with other people.
Yep.
And so you end up taking on a lot of their baggage.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're dealing with some spiritual, demonic stuff, you end up taking that on too.
Yeah, and I don't want that.
So I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
I told God the other day, I want to do everything the right way. I want to make sure
Me
that
too.
what I'm doing is what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't include me going out and chasing women and like doing all these different things. So I have a new job I'm starting tomorrow.
Yep.
Working for Eli.
Yeah. Nervous buddy. Yep.
He's making me sales manager of his dry cleaning business.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out there and create new business.
Okay.
They haven't been doing it. They could bought a van, but they haven't been doing a pickup delivery route. So I have an opportunity to go out there and going into neighborhoods, creating a route.
We've already done that.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
already done that, dude.
Already done it. So everything I've done up until this point has prepared me for that. But I could potentially make a lot of money doing this.
Yeah.
Eli said this is going to be like a business within the business, and
So it'd be like your thing.
it'd be my thing.
Yeah, that's great.
That I would.
He's
be
a
running.
good guy, man.
He is
a
a really good guy.
man.
Yeah, great.
Everything
guy.
I've met him a couple times, but
Eli Tongate.
yeah, he's a good guy, man. So
Yeah.
he's got a dry cleaning. So what's it called?
Frontier Cleaners.
Frontier Cleaners. If you're in
Peoria.
Phoenix, Peoria. Sorry,
Yeah.
if you're in Peoria,
Yeah.
Frontier Cleaners.
Frontier
We
Cleaners.
try to plug all our friends on
Yeah.
here. So if they have businesses or trying to get a word out about ministry or whatever, we try to plug
For sure.
on here too. So
So I've taken that very seriously, and I'm going to start that tomorrow.
nice.
But my mind is right. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing, is my mind is right and my intentions are good. So I wanted to enrich myself. That's what it was. I wanted to make a lot of money because I
was there.
had some stuff
I
to
was there.
prove. I wanted to prove something to my ex. I wanted to prove something to my
everybody.
family, my mom, like everybody.
Mhm.
But it's not about that. Like
Not at all.
the money that I earn, whether it's through work or XRP,
It's the Lord's.
it's the Lord's
That's
money.
right.
It belongs to Him. So what does He want me to do with that?
Right.
And I really feel what I want is I want to open my own church.
Okay.
That's
Rich
what I
is
want.
so just Rich. We used to do Bible studies together. He is an amazing teacher. I've met a few people in my journey, in my time out, that were great teachers, and come to find out, one of my great teachers was one of his great teachers. But me and Rich were never on the same facility together on the timeout. So
Yeah.
Richard, fabulous teacher. He used to make me feel bad. Did I tell you that? He used to make me feel
Richard
horrible.
Moore.
Yeah, he used to make me feel horrible. But it was a good thing, Rich, because I know Rich watches this. So it was a good thing for me, because what happened was he used to write me these little, the
Yeah, the
papers.
papers.
They'd be as long as a sheet of paper, but that like 2 inches, right?
Mhm.
And he'd write all this stuff on it, and he'd leave it on my desk.
Yeah.
And I would come home, read it, and I remember the time going, I'll just read it later.
Mhm.
But when I got out and I opened that Bible, I started reading those
Yeah.
and then doing the studies.
The studies.
And it just changed my life. It
Powerful.
changed my walk, dude.
There
And
was-
it brought it all the way and circled back to what Dan Mohler and Todd White teach about the Christ in us message. So
Mhm.
it was really powerful. And I went through a whole year of that recently. So
Yeah. Richard Moore, met him in 2010 and changed my life.
yeah.
I never met
see how.
I never met anybody who spoke the way that he did or understood the word the way that he did.
Yeah, the truth,
And
the real message.
I didn't understand what I was hearing, what I was seeing in this man.
Yeah.
But it was Jesus.
Yeah.
in him.
Speaking through them, dude.
Yeah.
I fully believe that too.
There's not that many people that when
For
they
sure.
talk to you, it's actually the Lord speaking
With
through them.
authority too.
With authority in
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
You can go to a church service, and I have good friends, that are, they're great. They're great men of God. They
Yeah.
love the Lord.
They're just not teaching.
they love people, but they're not teaching that. That is
Which is it's just sad, kind of.
It is sad.
Sad.
Well, you know what the thing about it is? There's not a huge audience for it.
That's all right.
Yeah, people
There
want.
wasn't a huge audience for Jesus, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there was throngs of people wanting
There was
more
a lot
bread
of people
and fish.
there was a lot of people that left him.
I want a
Right.
lot of bread and fish too. You know?
Yeah.
Can you do more? You
Yeah.
know?
They
Can you
like
heal?
getting fed.
Yeah, they like the result of his power,
Yeah.
you know, but miss the message.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of demand for that message because
Yeah, man.
it's accountability first.
Yeah, selflessness, accountability.
Richard made me feel bad too.
God.
There's a lot of men in the prison system that know Richard Moore, that he had dealings in their lives
Yeah, dude.
and they're better for it, but none of them were ever comfortable in
No,
that.
dude, he made me feel super uncomfortable with that.
Because what it is, what he represented and the authority that that he speaks with, it's
Yeah,
accountability. That's from God.
yeah.
And so he does it.
Samuel. We should call him Samuel.
Yeah.
Samuel.
Like Richard don't play.
Yeah, you don't play.
You don't play.
He
So
said something to me one time, dude. I'll never forget. I
He'll
just
tell you
told
the
you
truth.
recently. He goes, I said, why do you play music anymore? I didn't get it. And he explained it to me. He's like, well, it was all about me and it wasn't about Jesus.
Yep.
And I did not understand that until about a year ago.
Yeah.
That we do that. Like, you can be a Christian band, but if it's all about you and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really not about him. So all my new stuff that I've been writing the last year has been all about him and glorifying him and trying to find a creative way to get the message out. I could care less if it's an awesome riff in the song anymore. I mean, I tend to go with cool riffs, like stuff
Yeah.
that I would listen to. But really, man, just all about what it's actually saying, what we're actually talking about, like things that make sense. And I told him I used to struggle with that. Like when I first started writing with Fab and Walt, I didn't know what to write about.
Yeah.
I was a Christian, but I still couldn't verbalize what I wanted to,
Mhm.
you know, but now I can. So now it's glorifying him. And I was like, I'm quitting, right? I'm announcing this here. Like, I'm quitting the band, but the more I think about it, maybe I shouldn't, you know, as long as I'm making it about him and that always remains the focus. And we get some shows that are like opportunity to do what we want to do, then I'll take it. But if it's going to be all this shenanigans where it's like all these bands canceling and coming in and all that rigmarole, I don't want to do it
Yeah.
because it's just a brain drain. All that's a brain drain. It's like I could
Distraction.
Distraction. I could be focusing on other stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of ways to glorify God. The music is great.
really, the video medium is where I'm headed.
Yeah.
I haven't really shared this with you, but I think that when we release a song, no one listens to it on nothing. But when you release the video, everybody hears it because they want to see visual. What a great medium to tell your story, you know? So the songs that we're recording now are going to be a great medium for video, I think, and we can have some fun with it.
Cool.
You know, I want to shoot in a church, dude, with like stained glass and all
Awesome,
that for
yeah.
Brave. Like
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then having someone dressed as Jesus dragging a cross. I mean,
Yeah.
I have this whole idea, and that's what I'm saying. So, you know, just it comes from that. Brave comes from that. Right above my computer, there's I can't show it to you now, but I'll put it in the video. It says be bold. It says be bold, be brave, be courageous. It's Joshua 1:9. And that's my life verse. Like everything I do, I have so much fear and anxiety my whole life, and I had to read that all the time. So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine having a dude dragging a cross, black and white, blood dripping from a crown of thorns. It was actually
awesome. Yeah.
a dome of thorns. Actually, is what it was. Did you see that video?
Wow.
It wasn't a crown. It was the crown was actually a dome.
Oh, like a
helmet.
helmet.
Yeah. So I watched a video on it with Michael Knowles.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, just processing it during the week of Easter.
Mhm.
Or how cool would that be if we just did like a mini passion? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a mini passion, and just make it real and make sure people understand what he died for.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
You know?
he created me. I mean, he created music. It's powerful, man. It's a
Yeah.
powerful medium to influence.
And the old counterfeiter likes to too, though.
Yeah,
doesn't he?
people get influenced in the long way, man. You know, like I always think about Beyonce.
Oh yeah.
Just how much, like Taylor Swift, like all of those like female pop artists, just how big of a following they have and how much of an influence. And it's worship. They're literally being worshipped right
Yeah,
now.
by young people too.
By young people.
Yeah, man.
And what's crazy about it is Lucifer, who he is, he was created. You know, you read in Ezekiel 28, he was created with musical instruments. He was created with stones and precious coverings. He was the light bearer. He was beautiful.
Yeah.
But he was used for music. People dispute about that. You know, that's not actually talking about him, but I don't believe that's true at all. So when they talk about like devil music,
Well, he was the worship leader of heaven. Is
exactly.
What I heard.
They talk about devil music like it's true. Like guys like The Weeknd, all those guys, they're all satanic. All of them.
It's so crazy,
Dude, the
man.
music is a lot of music is good though, man. Like sometimes,
Well, that's the thing, right?
yeah,
So he's a great enemy, is a great deceiver. Satan's a deceiver, man. So he's cunning,
yeah,
right? So think about what that word cunning means: trickery.
yeah,
You know, he's a trick master. He can do anything. He's a sleight of hand. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Everything. Like you can literally have something just going amazing, and Satan can create a perfect storm,
hmm,
right? And there's spirits that can come in and twist people's minds and thoughts
yeah,
to think bad about the other person that they're really close with. I've experienced it personally, and it comes in and it does that and it destroys something beautiful. And if you're not like spiritually aware of that happening and know what you're looking for, dude, you're not going to be able to defend against it. There's nothing you can
yeah.
do, you know.
That stuff actually through the music, it actually gets in your
Correct.
mind.
It can
So
twist your thoughts.
yeah,
It changes your perception
yeah.
and
Like
perspective.
a lot of those rappers, man, like they're all satanic.
Yeah,
All
and
of
they
them.
look cool and they got all the latest stuff on and
Yeah,
fashions, and they have big glitzy videos so they can
yeah.
push that agenda. There's a lot of money behind it.
Yeah, Jay-Z, he's satanic. Like all those guys
Yeah,
that are out right now,
yeah.
they're all satanic, man. All that stuff is like even if you listen to the words of like what they're saying, it may not sound like evil, but it really is.
Yeah, you got to read into it.
Yeah, it's like
Hmm.
but it's getting into your spirit. Music is powerful. It literally puts people in a trance.
Yep.
So I think that I don't think I know that having music that's anointed by God, those words have power too, but they have the power to heal and
Correct.
they have the power. It's like spiritual warfare. So I told you this before. Your music needs to be out there because of what it actually represents. And a lot of times, like we go into these places to play.
Hmm.
If we didn't tell them that we were a
They
Christian
would
band,
never know.
they would never know. They rock out to the music though.
Yep.
They like the music.
Yep.
And that word is actually getting in them as well.
Yeah, because they're hearing it.
Yeah.
Their ears are listening to what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
so the anointing of God is upon it. It's like spiritual warfare. So I think it's important, but you have to decide how you want to do that and what level of
Yeah,
involvement that you want to do.
and that's the
So,
thing, man. So
but I'm here to support. Like,
yeah, and I appreciate
yeah,
that.
I'm not even a bass player. Right? I play bass, but I'm not a bass player. I'm becoming a bass player, but
Yeah, and he's been helping me. We've been going through members like crazy for the last 5 years. And that's part of the reason I like, I don't know if that's, well, I do know a lot of them got pulled out because of God. He's
yeah,
like, you can't yoke yourself to these people. So I
right.
believe that. And right now it's just like we were rehearsing the other day, and we're a three-piece. We're usually at four, and we had so much fun. And everybody in there is like, Dan's a believer. He's working on it, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
he does believe, and he wants to go to church Sunday. So I'm really really excited about that. I'm going to take him to Impact, I think, because that's a
it's a
palatable
good
for
bridge.
him, a
Yeah.
good bridge for him, and and he loves music, and it's got a great worship
Oh,
team.
they're the best.
I thought about it too.
Yeah.
It's like, should I take him to Fresh Start and just hammer him with
Just
the Holy
immerse
Spirit,
them into
and put him
yeah.
right in the middle of all them kids falling out in the spirit and
It
being
might
slain
be
in the
too much
spirit?
for 'em, yeah.
Be too much. So,
Yeah.
well, can I take him to Dream City? Yeah, it's good, but it's a lot of distraction. It's so big. But Impact, I sit in the front row, put Dan right up in the front.
Yeah, Pastor Travis is good too.
He's a great teacher.
He's very accountable. He holds people
He
accountable.
is, man, and it's a great place for him to be. The location in Scottsdale is a great place for that guy to be.
All the debauchery in Scottsdale.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's just fake.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fakeness there, and a lot of people want to be Christians, but they don't want to give up the things that you got to do to be one.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can put it.
There's a lot of skin tight pants.
There's a lot of girls there too for distraction, but that was my only thing for him, not for me.
Yeah.
For him, I was like, oh my God, he's probably going to want to go back every week, but whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
To get him to go. So my point is that I've got, a really strong believer here, and then one that's, I really think God has a calling on his life too. He's just finding it right now and recovery. He was on my first podcast and we talked about it.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude, but there was times I wanted to wring his neck. Dan, I love you, bro, but it's true. But he's really coming around and like making up for it. So I'm pretty proud of him right now.
Because it does matter. It does matter with the people that you have around.
Yeah, it says the Bible, do not yoke yourself to the unbeliever, dude.
And like me, I'm big on energy, and I absorb energy.
Yeah,
around. And I hate to say it, I should do better on this, but if I'm around negativity, I end up mirroring that. That's kind of like I'm like
I've seen it.
Yeah, I guess what they kind of call like an empath. Like I absorb the feelings and
That's probably
energy.
why you see things.
Yeah. I absorb the energy and feelings of other people. So if I'm around someone who's like really negative or bitter,
he just takes off.
I feel like I physically feel it, and I don't want to. I would rather remove myself then respond in the same way.
Yeah, well, that's maturity.
Yeah,
That's maturity. You know, it's taken me a while to not respond.
because I know where I can go.
Yeah.
It's not a good place. I got fired. The first time I ever got fired in my life was as a believer after I got out of prison.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because I couldn't deal with the guy that I was working for because he would say these little comments.
Yeah.
And like I used to be before I was a believer in Christ, I used to be able to like take that stuff.
Well, it's hard being a believer. People don't realize
Yeah.
that.
So I ended up
Yeah.
getting fired, but I need to do better in that.
You're getting refined, bud.
I am
You're getting
absolutely.
refined.
So, but if I can avoid those situations, like if I don't have to be in a situation where someone is negative, no, I don't have to be, right? Sometimes you have to be.
Sometimes you have to be. You got no
you gotta
choice.
put up with it. But I think overall, just like you said, having good people in the band that are like-minded,
Yeah, man.
and make it about the music, because as a Christian, rock band or any kind of like music, right? Christian music, any expression. What's it about? It's not about us.
It's about him.
Yeah, it's about him. And if we're making it about, oh, are we going to be famous? Are we going to make money? Are we going to do those?
Are we going to tour? There's wrong motives.
And I'm just thinking about that right now.
Oh, I knew it.
I'm just thinking about that right now. If we are a Christian rock band and there's motivation within the band, it's misplaced, of being famous, earning money, like doing all these things, all that stuff's for self.
Yep.
Right.
That's why I told you. I realized that.
That's to glorify us, right? And that was Lucifer's sin in the beginning.
Right.
He was lifted up beauty because of and pride because of his beauty and because of all the things that God had given him in the first place.
Yeah, and it didn't make it about him.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing is that I remember when we had like a #1 hit in Brazil, and then we had one in Ireland. It was fun. And I was like really excited, right? And I was like, God, you're doing it. And then I got bitter. Like a couple months later, the people started falling off from listening to it because it's such a short, attention span nowadays. And I didn't really know how to deal with it. I was like, well, I thought there was going to take
pressure to like come out with new stuff.
Yeah, and it was like a rough time, when that was going on. But recently, dude, I just realized just what you're realizing. I realized that, and I told you guys, I just want to be done. If it's going to be about this, I don't know if I was necessarily saying I want to be done with it, but I really want to be done with that. You know what I mean? That the weird shows and the way it's been. So I get frustrated with it, but I think we're going to wrap this thing up, and we lived up to the name, right?
All over the place.
All over the place, but that's what makes it fun, right? You just kind of, get into it. But I think there was
I feel like we could have a part 2, though.
Oh, we definitely are going to have a part 2.
Yeah.
For sure. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff that we could just get on a topic and talk. So that's what's great about Rich. So he's one of my good friends. And I just want to thank everybody who watched this. We have no sponsors. We don't have anything. I just do this on part-time whenever I can. But I really would love you to share, hit the like button, share this video if you think it's going to help someone. And that's what we want to do here. We want to encourage people and just help them out, man. So thank you guys for watching. If you stayed the whole time, you're a trooper. We appreciate you, and God bless.